welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video we're going to be painting Nymmestra, the Sun Elf Wizard. This is Nymmestra. I'm not sure exactly what colours to use for this. Sun Elf would automatically make me think of brights, colours, yellows, reds, oranges, that kind of thing, so that's what I think I'm going with for the moment. So the colours I've chosen: White Scar, Pallid Witch Flesh, Jokero Orange, Troll Slayer Orange, Screaming Skull, Corn Red, and Evil Sun Scarlet. They're the basic paints we're going to be using. Just put these back over here. The shade, one of the main shades we're going to be using is this one, Cassandora Yellow. We'll see how we get on with it, shall we? I'm not saying how good this is going to be, but we're going to try our best. Okay, so first off, what I want to do is the skin, and for that I'm going to be using Pallid Witch Flesh, which is again that colour. It's an off-white colour, it's not pure white, but it's not quite grey. It's like a chewing gum white, I suppose that's the better way of putting it. And we get some of that on our palette. So I know it's difficult to see at the moment, bear with me. So there's not much of this to use because I don't think there's much in the line of skin tone, but we'll see how we go. Now, as I said, I want to use like a pale skin colour, so that's why I'm doing it this colour. Now for a Sun Elf you'd think she was bronzed, but I'm going to be pale with the skin tone because that's how I want it. And we'll paint her pointy here. And just go all over all over where the skin tones are. Face, arms, hands. And the neck doesn't look as though it's, mind you, the throat I would say is bare. And we'll just make sure that everywhere is covered in this colour. If you need to come back to it again, then you know you have to. I just want to check on the picture for this. I can't tell well enough as to whether or not she's wearing gloves. I think there is some kind of, yeah, I think there is. So I'm not going to go any further with that. There's just the face that needs doing. So that's the Pallid Witch Flesh. We are going to be, as I say, going over with a wash afterwards. I'm not worried about that too much. Next, Skull White, or rather White Scar. It used to be Skull White, it's now White Scar. Okay, so I'll put some of that on our palette. I don't know whether you can see that on the camera, the difference between the two colours. And my computer finishes doing something it's set it to do. And for this I'm going to go over the flame. So I'll just do that because I want to make this look quite bright. So we'll cover up the flame completely. Which isn't easy because of the sculpt, unfortunately. It's a lot of twisting and turning and hoping you can get into it. But yeah, doing my best to try and cover it all. There we go, so that's that done. Next, we'll use a slightly different colour, which I should have brought out but didn't. In fact, there's a couple of colours I want to bring out as well, but we may use them a little later. At the moment, I don't want to use them. But the first colour is for the Her Baneblade Brown. Okay. Oops. So I'll just get a little bit of that on the palette, and then I can just go ahead and paint away. I think that could be a little dangly bit of her. I don't know whether it is or not. But we'll soon see. There we go. And I'll try and make every bit of the hair covered. Try not to go over the skin. I think I've covered the ears a little bit. Well, in fact I have covered the ears, but don't worry about that. I can always go over again, that's not a problem. Okay, next I think we're going to use what are we going to use? I'm going to use, first of all, Jacaro Orange. And pop some of that on the palette. And this bit is going to go over on the back of the long robe that she's wearing. Saying robe for want of a better word. do this, making sure that everywhere is covered. And as I said, this is just the, well, I've said before in other videos, this is just the base colour. Okay, it's not the finished miniature. This is the undercoat before we put the gloss on, if you get me drift. So that's that. Next, we're going to use, in fact I'm going to go back into white at the moment, because I can do the ear, and I can do the other ear, but now I want to use the white on the clothing she's wearing beneath this long robe. Okay, and I want to make sure that that is white, so I will have to come back to that a bit later. That isn't as good, well, that isn't as essential. And why did I do the ears white when it was pallid witch flesh that I used for the skin? Yeah, I just realised that I painted something completely different colour to what I originally painted it. Oh, one of those things. But we're back into the pallid witch flesh now, and I'm doing the elbows and the ears and going over any areas that I've missed of the face, or any areas that need to go over once again with the face. And then we're going to do a little bit of gold on this, because I think she would wear some form of gold accessory to her item, to her clothing. So we're going to start the gold part off with Retributor armour. And that is going over. Just went back. I can tell that properly now. He's got some paint on. So we'll make sure that that is fully paint covered. And now it is. We can now go on to the next part, which is around the edges of here, and that's going to be with corn red. So the corn red back, and here we will have red can this one go all the way around the hem of this Mini? So I wanted it like nice and bright, and what reminds me of the sun are these colours: reds, orange, yellows, whites, flame colours. And now she's a sun elf wizard, then I think she should be dressed in nice sun colours. There we go. The only difference being is when we get round to the accessories, like the bags there is a little scroll thing that I'm painting around here now. That's going to be metallic, but it's not going to be gold. I'm going to do that in silver, which is why I haven't painted it yet. Just need to make sure that you cover everywhere that you want in the set colours that you're using. Yeah. So that is the majority of it done. I do believe, I think I should have done a gloves in a goldish metallic colour. So I'm going to go back into the Retributor armour and just whiz over these. And make sure they're all covered. I'm hoping these are gloves and not just her arms. They are gloves because there is a ridge here, but I don't know how the gloves actually work, as it were, because it looks as though it's just like something on the back of a hand rather than a full glove. But no, I'm going to leave it as is. Next we have the boots and the bag, or the bags on either side of a whatchamacallit, other side of a hip, and then the silver scroll casing. So for the boots and the bags, Eshin Grey. Yeah, just a case of dab it on. And yes, I am working from the bottle because I'm not using much of this at any one time. There's not a great amount of this colour to use, so I'm not really being too strict about it. All I need to do is just the bag and the belt that is on it. And I'll just make sure there's a point on the brush I'm trying to work out whether I've missed something there or not, but never mind, that won't do the job. We don't have to be completely precise with these because, as I said, they're just game pieces. They're not very detailed game pieces, and whatchamacallit, they're not going to be on display anywhere. They're just going to be used as game pieces. Next, where have you gone? For the scroll, we're going to use Stormhost Silver. Okay, as I said, this is just for that little scroll casing here. It will get a wash, but not quite yet. Now we're talking about washes. So, what do we want first? When I can find it. Is that it? Nope. Oh, no wonder I couldn't see it, I've moved it. Okay, we're starting off with MacLeod Flesh Shade. Thing is, I showed you some paints at the beginning of the video. Just because I'm adding two doesn't mean to say that I've completely changed my mind. It just means to say that I wanted to add different colours into it as well. And I'm going to go over the hair, the face and the gold with this to make it more of a reddy gold. I will also come back to this later and probably over the gold give it another coat. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see how it looks when it dries. Okay, so we'll just paint up all the gold areas and the hair and the skin. Yeah, that's that for that colour. Next, using the yellow that I brought out earlier, which is the Cassandra yellow, which is quite a bright yellow. On this one I'm going to go on the back of the miniature and on the areas we did the Jacaro orange. All those, and I'm going to go over the bags as well. I'll give it a different shade altogether. There we are. Now another wash is going to come into play, and that wash is, when I can find that one, hiding right at the back. Out of the way we have Keelia Green Shade. Yes, green. That is going to be going over the silver here and the red. green wash on a red part of a mini gives a really nice shadow colour, like a browny shadow colour, but don't put too much on. You don't want it seriously flooding the miniature. You can really change the colour a little too much. That's the I'll do the boots as well. What the heck, might as well. There we are. And finally, for the washes, we have a nice purple one, Drukshire Violet. And that, as you may guess, is going to go over the white part of her clothing. Just to tint it, nothing more. There we are. Now I think we'll have some fun. Got that. I need one more oh, I don't think I have it anymore. I haven't already used it, have I? No. Ah, no. There is some back here. Right, we're going from one colour to another in a wash. Let's see if we can do this. We're going to be going from Cassandora Yellow into the Carroburg Crimson. And we're just going to go over just like so. And then from Cassandora Yellow, wipe that off into the Carroburg Crimson. I'll make it look a little better later with paint, but just to give you an idea of what it's going to be like when we're finished, there we are. We have the red and yellow flame being held by the wizard. There we are. So that's all we can do so far for the Nymmestra. But there's also another miniature we can work on. In fact, there's two other miniatures we can work on while we're waiting for her to dry. First off, we can finish Talon, and then I can show you how I got to Talon stage, which I'm going to do first. And that's going to be done with the aid of Abaddon Black, which is this colour. And all I need to do, using a damp brush, not soaking wet, I will just paint. We need a damp brush so that the paint will flow and go into all the crevices. If you want to use what is commonly referred to as wet water, which is putting a little bit of washing up liquid, a couple of drops of washing up liquid into the water, in order to make the water flow better, you can do. It would always help, but unfortunately I've not thought of this ahead of time and haven't got it out, or haven't got any ready, so we're just going to have to make do with what we've got. I want to show you that it can be done without using the aid of wet water. So we're using these big-ish chunky pieces of it's, what do we call it, it's oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's off a model railway stuff, ballast. It's a bigger, chunkier stuff, and I've used this mainly because it gives a good idea that walking through rubble and stone, and the sand that I have is too fine to do that. And that was the idea when I first painted the other D&D figures for the Adventure System games and the Dungeon Command ones. Unfortunately, since my style has changed quite a bit, my style of painting and everything else, I would do this now much differently if I was to start again. But I want these to stand side by side with the other games, so that's why I'm doing these like this as well. There we are. So that's the one for borrowing, or borrowing rather. That's the base coat done for the base. We've got to that stage with Talon. What I want to do now is show you how I completed the rest of her. So we want a number of colours. We want the fang, we want Administratum Grey, and we want White Scar. Okay, so we'll put borrowing over there for the time being. If she's dry by the time we've finished, we can do this as well, but well, we can do her as well, finish her off completely, but I doubt she will be. And we want to, what you call it, our dry brush. This is getting a bit shot at now, but it does the job as a dry brush. And it's the fang we want to go into first of all. Get it on the brush, and then we can just brush over all the rubble, all the stones that's on the base, even the smaller stones. It's a heavy dry brush this, you don't need to go too gently with it. There we are. That's the first stage. Next I'll wash this brush out. Now with it being a dry brush that we need, we're going to have to make sure that this brush is completely and utterly dry before we continue. So treat it roughly on the paper as you're drying it to get every little bit of moisture off it. There we are. And next, Administratum Grey. Okay, now you don't want this being as heavy a dry brush as the last one. To get some on the brush wipe off, and then and just go over. Make sure you touch the smaller stones as well with this. You don't want to completely ignore those. There we are. You can see how different it is now than all black. And finally, I want to wash the brush again. And again, make sure it is perfectly dry before we go into the next stage, because it's a very fine dry brush, very light dry brush of the white scar, just over the top of the bigger stones. So we'll get some of it on our brush, scrape it off on the side of the pot, put the pot away, wipe it on a paper towel, and gently just graze it over. And there we have our finished base. So Talon can now stand with this fella, Eleros, as being finished. But how is Barrowin? As you can see, there's some of this that's still dry, sorry, still wet. So we can't do anything more with her for the time being. But by the look of it, there are bits that haven't been covered in the paint, so we are going to have to go back in to correct that. So let's get that done now. Give the paint a good shake. And you can see this down here. If you put too much on, don't worry. It may actually help to keep the stones secure and stuck together if you put too much paint on it. And when it comes down to acrylic, which these paints are, they dry flat. So don't worry too much. But there we are. We can't do anything more with Barrowin, but you've seen how I've done Aleros's base and the other bases in this series, so it's easy enough to do. And once her base is dried, I can do that again, and then later on I'll come back. That doesn't look like flame, it looks like something different, but never mind. We've not finished this one yet. Once all the wash is dried, we will be coming back to finish her off. There's not much left of this to do now, and there's not much of the wash left to dry. So as I say, everything to finish off as usual will be in the next video. So until then, as always, take care, God bless, and bye for now.